Everybody, Creative Katie, just getting ready to do day 7 of the Index Card a Day Challenge, and the prompt is alliteration. So I found 2 quotes, interestingly enough. Didn't have much hope when I of finding something, but I have be positive, patient, and persistent, or decisions determine destiny. So I like both of those, so I'm not sure which one I'm going to use. Looking over at the cards, I think today I'm going to stick into this group from the purple to the green. I want to just make some kind of fun background. I don't have any focal point in mind yet, so this one really is a work in progress. What I did grab, I've been using my Lindy sprays, but what's stored right by them are my homemade Wilton sprays. And these are sprays that are made with the cake decorating gel from Wilton, and you can mix your own colors. And I will put a link to the video that I did a while back on how I made these. They are, I did not use distilled water, I used tap water, but they are still fine. There is no mold, there is no, sludge on the bottoms or anything. The only problem with them is I haven't used them enough. So what I think I'm going to do is put those on, and going to do the salt technique. And I will also put a link to the video, the salt technique video, where we use the salt technique with a whole variety of mediums: Inktense blocks, mermaid markers, distressed crayons, Neocolor 2s, Dilutions paints, craft paint, the Starburst, and the homemade Wilton sprays. So I'm really liking the look that I got here, so I'm hoping that maybe I'm going to get that same kind of look on here. That's what's so great about doing these tags. If you haven't done the tags, you have a reference tool to go back to and flip and remind yourself of something that you liked. So I have royal blue, leaf green. I made a teal myself by mixing colors, and I can't even remember what I mixed, probably green and blue. And I have violet here, so I'm not sure. I'm going to grab a clean one here. Some coffee filters to sop up anything. So we're just going to go to town. Now this is gessoed. As are most of my cards. There was a time that I would never be putting green on here, but it is one of my truly great color combos. Now this card is curling, and that's going to impact because some of the stuff is going to drip off. But you can see you instantly are getting it sopping up. This was a technique I first learned when I was doing some work on watercolor painting. So just going to, that's going to be lovely. I'm going to grab another one here. The thing about this though, you will get it on your fingers and your fingers will be that color for a while. You know, you gotta wash dishes by hand after that. I'm kind of liking how this is. I'm gonna let it dry a little bit longer and then we will come back. Okay, so I did dry it a little bit with the heat tool. You get different effects, so try it when you're patient. Just gently rub it off. Now that would be a beautiful underwater. It's a cloudy, rainy day here in Victoria, so that would be a very cool underwater. Now, because this is food coloring, basically, it is water soluble. So you need to be careful with that. Now, you could put gel medium over this and kind of seal it, although you run the risk of activating it and getting it all moving and losing the salt effect. What I'm going to spray this with, because it's odor free, and very health safe, I'm going to spray it with Spectrafix, and it's for pastel chalk pencil, colored pencils, and along those lines. So it makes it easier to do. You can buy Krylon, and automatically, I don't know if you saw it, but it did reactivate a little. So it did reactivate, even with the fix, the Spectrafix. Did not account for that. But I'm just going to lock this in. I still kind of like what's going on, so I'm okay with that, but I made a mistake. Now you don't need to. Okay? So even more watercolory effect. You'll note that the corners, I rounded all the corners. The cards actually come and they're flat on one side. So what I did is I just took another card and flipped it over like that, and then I just cut off the other rounded corners. So this is going to be something I'm going to do sitting in front of the TV to prepare them. And that way it just finishes off the cards, just that little extra something. So when I frame them or do what I do with them, they're just that little extra more finished, I guess. Okay, so since we know this is highly reactable and I don't want to lose any of the effect that I have here, I kind of like what's going on, I am going to minimize what I do on here. So, especially putting any wet product. What I have here, this was a cut file on my silhouette. So I actually cut out of some of my jelly prints and colored papers, some. But then you have the white side. So I'm not sure if I'm going to cut this into different shapes, and I might put that on there. Or I might I painted one blue. So there's the jelly print side. That's not quite, it kind of blends a little bit. So we're just going to play with this a little bit. I cut out lots of these because I thought, okay, I'm just going to see what happens with this. And I'm just kind of cutting it. You can do it whatever shapes you wish. Kind of like the white, I'm not sure. So this is where decision making comes in. You can kind of put both. I can put the whole thing on. I kind of like that too. And this kind of gives texture. I don't want to put, I cut a stencil with it, and I could put modeling paste through or gesso through it, but it's going to reactivate. And so I don't want to do that. So I think I'm going to just do this. And what I'm going to do, because I don't want to put the matte gel on here, I have to put it onto the back of this. So you can do the same salt technique with acrylic paint. It's a slightly different effect. I don't like it as much and it's harder to get the mix of water and paint just right, but it will be permanent and you wouldn't have this issue that I'm experiencing right now. Okay. You wouldn't have to avoid doing things, right? So that's kind of the advantage of doing that. Makes it a little awkward, but there's always a way around things. You just kind of have to think about it. Okay, so I'm just going to finish this and I'll be back. Okay, so I'm absolutely loving how this is looking. There's no shimmer in it yet, and I think I'm going to edge it with the Prussian blue that I painted the die cut from. And I'm not throwing this out because I'm thinking this would be, you know, a lovely border on something, or I could put that in and it would give texture to a plan. So I have my two quotes here, and what I grabbed out is my folder on bugs and birds and bugs. And I have all these butterflies that I have in these baseball card holders that I've cut out or partially cut out. And so I just was kind of auditioning them. I kind of like this soft color. And then I'm thinking if I put the butterflies, I don't know if I want, you know, so if I put, and then I can have the words kind of cascading down with the butterflies. So if you're doing a search, I just did on Pinterest, you know, free printables butterflies or free printables dragonflies. I mean, you can do whatever you like with their quote and doing it that way. And with regard to these, I just kind of have them sorted by color as much as I can. Some are cut, some are not. But you know, one day I'll dig out and I'll cut a whole bunch and then I leave them, and it just, they don't get lost and end up on the floor. Okay, so I've decided I'm going to use this alliteration quote, decisions determine destiny. And I'm going to cut each word separately, which is why, you know, I want to decide on the exact placement of my butterflies at the same time. And I think, you know, I like that. Sometimes the less you fuss, the better you are. I'm just going to give this a little bit of a trim. If I had used the die cut and kept it in white, the white of these there might be just too much white on the page, so this would make a lovely bookmark, you know. You can punch a hole and go from there. So what I'm going to do is grab my gel medium and again, I have to be careful because I do not want it to reactivate underneath. Oops. And if your hands are dirty, you're going to get that on your what I want to do here is just a little bit of blue. I just want the stark white. There we go. It's always easier to do it before you put gel medium on it, but you know. Oops. Lighting technical difficulties here. So the prompts for next week's, I think, come up, I'm not sure when. I noticed them up Wednesday. Not a big fan of next week's prompts, so I may be just exercising the I'm going to do my own thing. But when I say that, I might just go to other people's prompts. Marta has her alphabet prompts, and I've been keeping track of them. Joggle's art journal thing has their prompts, and I've been keeping track of them. So I may go there for inspiration if I can't come up with a theme for myself. There's, you know, and again, that you determine for yourself whether you want, whether you want to take up the challenge and do the prompts as they are, you know, presented, or whether you're going to take the luxury and not do them. I am quite happy with what I am seeing here, considering that I had no idea going in other than I had that quote. I'm going to try to edge it with this, but I have a feeling oops. And I'm going to try, split the difference. I'm going to try using this. I love these felt applicators, and they're so useful for everything. And as long as you wash them, especially after using acrylic paint, I think that is beautiful. Now, there is no bling. Anybody want to guess what I'm going to do here? Since we have the yellow in here, I'm thinking I'm going to splatter with gold. And the yellow, one of the reasons I picked the yellow, if you go, you know, in here, kind of across from the blue, it's kind of the yellow-orange, that's the complement. So that's why these color butterflies work really well. And why my pink ones may not have been, you know, the best pick. So if you are trying to do this watercolor thing with sprays, if you stick to colors that are next to each other on the color wheel when you're spraying them, 2 or 3 colors, you will you'll avoid making mud and end up with something quite nice. I am loving this. It's beautiful. I can see doing a bigger page, very similar with this. Thanks for watching. I will see you tomorrow with the next index card a day. So I was cleaning up and I grabbed this coffee filter that I had put the leftover paint from when I painted the die cut, the blue. And I have this leftover splatter. So, you know, when we're using our leftover paint, you can also use leftover splatter. So this is going to be absolutely lovely for something down the road. So, you know, I have a few things that have, you know, leftover paint on them. So I'm just going to continue to splatter. And, you know, by the time we get done, some of these cards are just going to be ready for a focal point and a quote, and we're done. And so that might come in really handy on a day that, you know, you really don't have a whole lot of time and you just want to get it done quickly. So I'm just going to continue with that and see you next time.